welcome to Open Studio with ManMakeMachine. My name is Bundu Sitole, and I am on the Production Mentorship Program at Open Studio. Today we are discussing the fourth industrial revolution, the revolution that is bound to change your life, guys. And I'm chilling here with my guests, which are Matthew, Chris, and Conrad. Hi, guys.
Hi. Good morning.
Hey.
Thanks for having us.
So today we're going to actually discuss monitoring systems. And so let's go to a clip quickly and just watch that clip. And then after that, we will discuss the clip. See you soon.
UniFi Controller Best Practices. In this video, we'll examine management of the UniFi Controller software through a quick analysis of UniFi device behavior with and without the controller online, as well as when, where, and how to deploy the UniFi controller. We'll then close by discussing best practices for controller use. Available for free download, the UniFi Controller Server software supports Windows, Mac, and Linux operating systems with mobile app support for iOS and Android devices. The software package comes bundled with the UniFi Discovery tool for finding and managing UniFi devices on the local network. Whether installed to a PC workstation or server, the UniFi controller requires the latest version of Java installed and runs over top Apache Tomcat, permitting any network host from anywhere to access the controller via their web browser. Although the controller is required for initial setup, adoption, and provisioning or configuration of UniFi devices, the server need not be running in order for UniFi devices to move traffic as expected in the enterprise network. Specifically, this means that a UniFi gateway will continue to route and filter according to firewall rules, just like switches supply PoE and keep VLAN assignments, while APs continue broadcasting WLANs, band steering, and apply bandwidth limits. In fact, for quick WLAN deployments, UniFi access points can be configured using easy setup mobile app, built into the UniFi app, available for iOS and Android devices. The decision whether to keep the UniFi controller online and connected to UniFi devices following initial adoption and provisioning depends primarily on whether the following features are needed: post-adoption provisioning or configuration, real-time device monitoring, user traffic statistics, network insights like nearby access points and guest authorization, and perhaps most importantly, the UniFi guest portal and hotspot system. Assuming the UniFi controller remains online, consider first whether the controller will remain in close proximity to the UniFi devices and users it manages. If the administrator remains on-site or the sites under management are closely concentrated within a single region, it may be a good idea to keep one or more local controllers. However, if the customer sites are scattered and/or lack proper IT personnel, it may be a good idea to keep the controller off-site or even in the cloud, where a network admin can access from anywhere at any time. Keep in mind that an off-site controller means UniFi management and guest portal traffic must traverse the WAN, so where internet bandwidth and uptime connectivity are a concern, Ubiquiti recommends local controller management. With proximity in mind, as well as traffic requirements for the total number of devices and users on the sites under management, consider the type of controller server hardware to deploy. In the case of smaller, localized sites, the UniFi Cloud Key, or even a more powerful Linux PC server, could address the needs of the customers. Hosted server virtualization platforms like UniFi Elite Cloud reduce server maintenance requirements and ensure high reliability and uptime for enterprise networks. Although the UniFi controller itself supports a limitless number of devices and users, controller performance depends on the server hardware and amount of traffic to and from the controller. In scenarios where the controller is hosted using a third party and as the enterprise network under management grows from tens to hundreds to thousands of devices and users, simply locate and restore the backup UniFi server file to a more powerful virtual server instance. Regardless of controller setup, Ubiquiti's hybrid cloud technology allows admins to manage multiple UniFi controllers under a single common dashboard without any license costs. The dashboard shows the status of each managed controller and includes summarized data of each controller's sites, devices, and users. Built on the WebRTC protocol, the the hybrid cloud enables end-to-end connectivity for remote access, even in situations where the WAN IP address is dynamic or when sitting behind a double NAT firewall. To link a UniFi controller to the hybrid cloud dashboard, enter the SSO Ubiquiti account of the admin under the Cloud Access tab inside the controller settings. Among the most important recommended practices for UniFi controller management, consider the following. To skip server setup and maintenance altogether, opt for the UniFi Elite Cloud Platform, which grants users additional support, extended warranties, resilient storage, auto backup redundancy, and other important enterprise features. When using dedicated server or workstation hardware, install the controller as a service so that the UniFi software automatically starts whenever the server machine reboots. Be sure to link all controller instances to the Ubiquiti Hybrid Cloud for central access and monitoring summaries. When the controller sits on the global network, opt for a fully qualified domain name rather than a fixed IP address. Also, schedule automatic UniFi server backups. Furthermore, ensure that no UniFi sites use the default username and/or password for device management. Finally, check to make sure that all network ports in use by the controller are available for the UniFi system to work prior to adopting UniFi devices for management.
So guys, that was a short description from Ubiquiti about monitoring systems. It was pretty complicated to me, but I don't know how you guys feel about that. It sounded very complicated, and there was a lot of things being said in that clip that just didn't make sense to me. So yeah, guys, what did you think? Tell me, Matthew.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I mean, my standouts was that it's basically, when it comes to monitoring a network, you need a centralized platform to configure and see what's actually happening within your network. So you're not always having to call people out to go and change this and change that. You can have your configuration stored in a central location.
Yeah, okay. So what I'd like you to do now actually is just to introduce yourself quickly. Yeah, you're Matthew Tate.
I'm Matthew Tate.
Yes.
I work with Conrad at ManMakeMachine.
Okay.
I'm a systems engineer. I took a fairly crooked path through a few failed businesses and found myself to Conrad, who I'm busy working with.
Okay, awesome. Chris, little intro on yourself.
Yes, I'm Vianney Mateta. I'm staying there by, how do you call this area? In Fuleni. And I'm working for VPU as a general worker. I'm doing my facility management, and I enjoy myself doing that job.
Okay, so let me quickly link to an ad break, and we'll be back and discuss a bit more about monitoring systems. So guys, we're actually busy discussing monitoring systems on the Fourth Industrial Revolution show, ManMakeMachine. You can catch us at manmakemachine.com if you have any questions. But right now we're about to just chat around about monitoring systems and the clip we had just seen. But I'd really like for Chris, if you have anything more to say about yourself. Do you have anything?
Yes, just a little bit. It's about the area. Fuleni is too big.
Okay.
And I've got also the new area that I'm living. It's a new beginning area. Okay. That's where you can find us. It's between Badale and the Blue Downs.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, that will be
my office at VPU, where I'm working from, it's in Harare. It's based in Harare, but the head office is here in Observatory.
In Observatory,
it's around here, around the corner. Yes.
Yeah, I understand that you already have a network, a Wi-Fi network at your place, and you've been enjoying that.
Yes, I've been enjoying that, but after I've gone for a holiday, when I back home from home, I found out that my friend here is not working with me now, and I started to get confused. And I still just take some time and looking around. I saw that there's no light that I see outside. Then I started negotiating or speaking with you. Continuing that there's something that is not working here. But
is it working now though?
Now it's not working. It's always
still have the same problem. What is it saying now when you look at it?
That was stuff. It's it's a fancy word. You know what's that? No other day. Yes. You know these words, they always break our tongues.
So it confused you.
It confused me.
I explain about what's exactly happening.
But I'm not angry to that because I know that it's soon gonna be okay.
Yeah. Conrad, intro.
Hi, my name is Konrad Loebser. ManMakeMachine is an engineering consultancy.
Yeah.
So we help people solve problems using technology.
Yeah. That's the best way of explaining it.
So, yeah, well, the thing with technology is it can do a lot of things, but it's not a lot of time and effort that people put into technology only solves technology problems instead of human problems. Like, how do you fund the infrastructure, or how do you make something, how do you save people time? And it was an interesting choice of video. So a good monitoring system can save you a lot of time and effort, because it can do a lot of the work for you.
But then when it comes to someone like me who's like, okay, like I understand a lot of tech stuff, but I can also view things from a public perspective. If now you had a community network, and because now you've got this community network, you've got people that don't really understand, or like quite illiterate when it comes to like these computer software and networking kind of products. And from what I heard in that clip, it was quite complicated. The words were quite complicated. Is someone like that able to, you know, understand or at least use these kind of, you know, products without having to go to training that costs 20,000 Rand, for instance? You understand? I would like to know, is there other products that we can use on these same devices, like Unify devices or Ubiquity devices, that actually work and that are simple enough for a person like myself or Chris, who's just chilling at home and wants to fix his own Unify controller? You know, is there a possibility of that?
Well, are there things like that out there? If anybody knows of one, I would love to find out myself. I think it's important to, so there are different ways that you can look at it. I think it's certainly possible to make it, but nobody's made it yet. And the people that make the software are so technical, they don't realize how technical they are. So the software looks very technical, but it doesn't need to look technical. If enough people who are not technical work with them, it would be possible to create a system that's much less technical with much fewer fancy words that anybody can understand. It could literally just, you know, you could just have a page with a bunch of red and green lights, and they should all be green. And if one is red, then it tells you who to ask for the solution.
Oh, nice. What do you think about that, Matthew?
Yeah, well, I think there's different levels of monitoring system, and it is a big issue that we have technical people who are staring at technical screens all day, processing the information. But the best monitoring system is really one that diagnoses the problems and puts it all into a very understandable format. And so it does 90% of the work and only asks for human intervention when it's actually needed.
So, okay, so what you mean is that like an automated system, something that actually does the job by itself without the need of me going in the back end and actually programming and trying to figure out things that need like an engineering course or degree.
Yeah, it either solves the problem itself, or it breaks it down into it's sort of what the actual issue is. If you have an issue in one area of a network, it can affect a whole load of areas. So if it's saying like the issue is here, this is the problem, this is what needs to happen, as opposed to just a very technical description where someone needs to go into the brains of what's happening to figure it out.
Yeah. Okay. So when it comes to these kind of systems, I understand there's something called MikroTiks as well, and there's Ubiquity as well. I've seen these access points. If I wanted to use them integrated, like interchangeably, for instance, maybe I'm using a router from MikroTik and an access point from Ubiquity. How do I integrate them? Is it easy to integrate them, or what's the difficulty there?
Well, I think that's a very good question. The problem is that a lot of these companies create software to promote their own products. So their software don't support other products. So I think you should always look for a company whose software is compatible with other products, because they don't try to control you, lock you into just using their products. You can pick whatever products you want, which best suits your, fits your problem or solves your problem, and that way you'll save yourself time, because no company can do everything for everybody. But I think this is a good tie-in to talk about free software for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Chris, did that that video clip we watched, did it look like it was a very smart thing or like a very fancy, good software?
Yeah. What can I say is that to that video clips, it's not easy to understand to understand it as me, because for me it's still a new thing for me. But I have to learn that because it's what I need and what we need. Yes, yes, and I'm keen to learn it because it's coming faster for me, and also I'm faster to learn it.
Yeah. Did it look like it was a smart program?
It's a smart one. It's a smart one.
Okay, so let me just tell you this: that program is not very smart because it doesn't know what's wrong. It just knows something is wrong. Like any person who learns a little bit.
So guys, we just need to go to a break, and then after that we'll discuss further exactly what we're talking about here. It's so exciting.
Thank you.
So guys, we're back from that awesome break, and we were still busy talking to Utatu Chris Alpha about what his thoughts are about this whole clip that he was watching. So yeah, guys, continue quickly. What were your thoughts?
My thought is that if I look at that, yes, firstly, you look at something that you cannot identify as me. Because if I see that thing, I can't touch it, and I don't know what is that. But somewhere, somehow, I think that thing is going to be so helpful because of the person who's going to touch it and do it. Without a human being touch, I can't identify that thing.
You good?
Yeah.
You got it?
Yeah. So, yeah, but I do think it's important to realize that the software is not very smart. It can only tell you there's a problem. And it's very difficult for the software to figure out what the problem is. And it's up to literally anybody to create better software or to improve that software. So this is where I think the topic of free software is very important. Chris, what do you think when you hear the word free software?
To me, it clicks like there's something that look like I can use it free. I didn't understand the meaning of that. But when I hear you saying that free software, you talk about the internet, that anyone can use it in a good manner.
I think
that's my understanding.
I think that's quite accurate. The important thing is that the free refers to freedom. The freedom to modify it and to change it and to use it in any way that you like. The freedom to get anybody to help you to use it. So, and this is as opposed to proprietary software, where only the person that created the software is allowed to look inside and to see how it works and to change it. So if you use proprietary software and you have a problem with it, you have to wait for the person who gave it to you to fix it. You can't learn how it works and fix it yourself. Where with free software, you can open it up and you can see exactly how it works and you can learn how it works, and if you spend enough time, you can make it solve your problem or do what you want it to do. So I think it's very important to always look for free software, and also to understand that we wouldn't have smartphones today if it wasn't for free software. Yeah. And we probably wouldn't have the internet the way it looks, because most of the software on our smartphones are free software, and most of the internet runs on free software. And it's very important because it allows anybody to contribute, and it helps us to form a community around software and to improve software much faster than when you're waiting for somebody else to do it, who has vested interests in selling more products or whatever it might be.
Now you're talking about Linux, Ubuntu, right? The product, or what?
Or free software.
Also, there's more operating systems like that.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So guys, tell me more about the latest developments of ManMakeMachine. Matthew, you got anything?
The latest developments of ManMakeMachine.
Yeah, what's happening there?
Yeah, we're still gathering. I think we're fairly young. So ManMakeMachine has been through a few iterations over the past 5 or 6 years. They've worked on a few interesting projects, including heliostats in Kenya to dry tea. There was a project with Y Group to develop a Y reader, and there was I've personally worked on, I generally work on firmware, so I worked on some encryption firmware. Now where we're sitting currently is that we have some talented people who we're working with. We're in some ways looking for other people to work with to contribute. Yeah, we have our feelers out and we have a few projects here and there, but I think we're still consolidating to some extent. And looking for people who are wanting to work in an open, free manner on shared technology to really further.
Okay, awesome. So you're working on a lot of open source sort of products, it seems, or is it like sold, like you have to sell the products and stuff like that, or how does it work?
So, sorry. So open source, I mean, you can sell open source software, but it just means that people can build off and contribute to it. So in terms of like open source software, I like to think that you can offer the software as a service to someone, as in, if you want some software, me and Conrad can run it all for you and host it on our servers and take care of it and make sure it's always working. But there's always the option for you to go, actually, I want to do it myself and I want to change how it's working.
Yeah. So if I want to get these skills, like learn about operating systems and monitoring systems and how to use them, what's the easiest way to go about it? Do I go out and watch YouTube channels, or do I go out and try to find a mentor, or how do I do this, or where do I find that mentor? Hey, Conrad?
I would say all of the above. So the thing is, it's sometimes easier to learn than most people think. You think you have to work hard in a sense, but not like most people think. If you read something you don't understand, and you come back to it a week later and you read it again, it's like your brain has figured out some of the things and you understand a bit more, and you come back to it another week later and you understand a bit more. So there's obviously something happening there that says that you're not doing it, your brain is doing it. And so I think the important lesson from that is that anybody can learn, anybody can learn anything, and most things are just a lot of simple things that are put together. So, but nobody can learn everything. And nobody
but where do you need to start? Do you need to start from scratch, or can you just start from anywhere? Because it's obvious to me that all these things started from a simple point of view, which was probably a DOS screen of sorts or something. And then now all of a sudden there's all these interfaces and it's all crazy, and now we're getting overwhelmed and all of that. Does this mean that we can actually start from there and just learn directly that, or do we start from the DOS screen? You don't know.
Well, we all have something that attracts us, that we feel like is interesting to us, and usually we think we know what it is, but as we learn more about it, it changes, and we realize that it's actually something very different. It's related, and it's not exactly what we thought it was, but there's this other thing that can make things easier and helps you understand this thing or solve the same problem in a different way. And
so yeah, sorry to have to cut you off because we've got a time issue. But like, to get a hold of you guys, Matthew, do we get you on Facebook, Twitter?
I'm not on social media.
You're not that kind of person. Ready, Chris?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going
Facebook. WhatsApp na ku Facebook ngandifumana.
Okay. As Chris Mateta.
As Chris Mateta.
Okay.
Uba ngaba ke mhlawumbe ufumana amanye amagama mhlawumbe yaba ligama kodwa noko libonakalayo.
Okay, cool. Conrad?
Twitter, DAGELF.
Yeah, cool. Guys, that was an awesome show from our side, and I'll see you on the next show, which is about something cooler than you think. Cheers.